Hey guys, Scott here. Buddy just went to the vet, so I'm just letting him do this. I was trying to record this video and he just jumped up here, and you know what? We're just going to roll with it. He is chill, so I am chill. Today we're going to go over 5 killers that have add-ons that are damn near required in order to play them. These are basically just the most add-on dependent killers in the game, at least in my opinion. I need to make this clear. I don't play every killer religiously. I know like Pixel Bush is going to have her like, oh, Skull Merchant needs blah, blah, blah. Like I don't play every single killer a lot. I have like 5 or 6 that I main and then I bounce between, you know, a couple of others, but I don't play every killer to have a full encyclopedic knowledge of every add-on that every killer in the game has. So these are just my opinions on the killers that I feel require add-ons to not feel really shitty to play. So I'm going to start from least to like most required, and first one is going to be Spirit. And you might think Spirit is not super add-on dependent. She is one of the best killers in the game and kind of always has been one of the best killers in the game. That is true. But she is incredibly add-on dependent for cooldown reduction. I don't know if you guys have realized how incredibly impactful the Rusty Flute add-on is. It's like 50% increase in the recovery speed of the power. That is an insanely high value for an add-on. Usually when we have add-ons like this, what they do is they take like half of it and put it base kit and then nerf the add-on to be the other half. So Rusty Flute would be like 25% and then you would have like the other 25% or whatever just built into the base kit of Spirit. At the same time, I don't want to say, hey, let's buff the Spirit because she's already very good killer. She doesn't really need buffs or anything like that. But I do feel like the difference between running cooldown and no cooldown is insane. Here, just look at the actual difference in the full power cooldown between running cooldown add-ons and having no cooldown add-ons. It's painfully slow with the no add-ons. So much so, I would argue Spirit without cooldown add-ons legitimately is not even an A tier killer because her map control is so terrible because she can't use her ability for movement or she can't use it for chase. Either way, she's lacking severely in some category there. So she really needs to run some form of cooldown reduction in order to be able to have a good balance between getting across the map and being able to actually use your power offensively to down people. So possibly an underrated one and an understated one, but I do think Spirit is incredibly reliant on cooldown reduction add-ons, and I legitimately wouldn't mind if they nerfed some of the add-ons and made them base kit, because I can't think of another killer in the game that has an add-on that has such a drastic impact on the reduction of a cooldown. Like, I legit can't think of anything. So Spirit, I would say, is way too reliant on cooldown add-ons. Next, I would say Pinhead. Pinhead, in my opinion, I'm not like a Pinhead expert or anything like that, but my time playing Pinhead, I feel like you need to run Impaling Wire. Impaling Wire is this add-on that makes it so if your chains break on the environment, another chain will spawn. Because nothing is more frustrating than playing this killer and then having an amazing shot, like, you know, really far away, you know, curving, doing 360s and shit. You hit that shot, but then the chains spawn in a wall and nothing happens. You basically have lost distance for hitting an incredibly skillful shot, and that feels so bad. So what a lot of people do to mitigate that is run Impaling Wire. So if it does spawn in the environment or it does immediately break, a second later another chain is going to spawn, and likely that one will hit or make them have to dodge in a, you know, a non-advantageous direction. Either way, it makes up for that really shitty feeling where you just feel like your power is not doing anything sometimes. This is especially true on clustered indoor maps like Hawkins or Larry's, but really it can be any map where you use your chain and then just nothing happens. So having Impaling Wire, to me, feels like it's almost required to make his power actually worth using most of the time. Next, we're going to go for Wesker. Wesker is kind of weird. He doesn't like need add-ons, but he's also kind of not amazing without them. Wesker, over the years, has kind of been power crept. He used to be considered like a low A-tier killer, but then he got kind of nerfed a little bit, and then they nerfed him a bit more. They nerfed his hinder percent, then they nerfed how much you remain hindered, or how much you remain infected off a hook. It fully resets. So they've, like, you know, systematically nerfed him a bit more and more to where he's more like a high B-tier killer now. And he's still a pretty decent killer, but I do feel like in order to get rapid downs with Wesker, you need to have the Lion Medallion. You have to have the add-on that allows you to throw people further. Now, this is commonly comboed with the Jewel Beetle, which makes you charge less of a distance. So basically, instead of slamming someone to a wall, which makes them recover much faster, and you basically gain less distance because they're able to recover and run away quicker, you always want to throw someone into a wall. Because basically, as they're traveling through the air, you are actually recovering from your animation. So the time that they spend in the air is time spent. You're not wasting that time anymore, basically. You're walking towards them as they're still flying through the air to go hit something, which is why you always want to throw someone basically as far as you possibly can, because you'll be able to make up that distance as they're flying through the air. If you slam some against the wall, you have to just go through the whole animation. They get to run away. They gain more distance. So every good Wesker player wants to throw the survivors as far as possible. There's basically no real scenarios where you would ever not want to throw someone as far as possible, because two things will happen. A, they just don't hit anything, I guess, because you messed up. I guess in that scenario, if you mess up and just throw them into nothing, they would go a bit further, so they'd be farther away, so that would be annoying. But for the most part, you always want them to collide with some object in some way. So you're always going to want them to be thrown further, and having a Lion Medallion is very often the difference between getting an extremely quick rapid fire down and getting absolutely nothing. So I would say Wesker is really reliant on the throw add-on. I would think you would find the throw add-on on like probably 70% or 75% of Wesker builds. The Jeweled Beetle is not as required, but it synergizes so well with Lion Medallion that you kind of just figure everyone's going to run it anyway. But to me, Wesker feels really shitty without the increased throw range, and when he's got it, he can down people really fast. Next, we have Wraith. Now, I kind of love Wraith's add-on design. I think Wraith has one of the best add-on designs in the entire game. Almost every single add-on he has is good or beneficial in some way, and a lot of them do really cool, unique things. Some of them do just, boring but very effective things. He's got everything from overreading on generators to, full stealth mode. He can apply basically Sloppy Butcher out of stealth with an add-on. He's got a lot of really good add-ons, and honestly, I think Wraith has, one of the best add-on designs in the whole game. So the fact that he's still add-on dependent to me is kind of funny, because I would consider myself a Wraith main. He was my first P100. I absolutely love playing Wraith, and I will say playing Wraith without Swift Hunt feels really bad. The difference between Swift Hunt and no Swift Hunt is with Swift Hunt, you can be right next to a survivor, uncloak next to them, and immediately lunge, and you will be able to just hit them with the tip of your weapon. This is really useful because it'll stop them from getting to pallets, or if you're trying to body block or whipping around a loop or something like that. This enables you to basically have just the right amount of distance to instantly lunge out of stealth and hit a survivor that you were next to when you started uncloaking. If you do not have Swift Hunt, you will be slightly off and you won't be able to hit that. And that's very often the difference between them getting to a loop or not. I can't tell you how much that little difference does matter in terms of actually getting a hit when normally you might not have gotten it. So I do think on basically every build, you kind of have to run Swift Hunt. So it's weird that he has so many good add-ons, but one of the slots you kind of have to use for Swift Hunt. Now, the other one can be basically anything. Windstorm, I find, feels really nice for cutting people off, body blocking and things like that, but he has a lot of other really good add-ons. Shadow Dance is extremely good, especially in a more competitive setting where pre-dropping is going to be a lot more of a common thing. Shadow Dance is really nice for that, although people can be smart about it and counter that by vaulting back into you, so I don't consider Shadow Dance as good as a lot of people might consider it, because the vaulting back into it can kind of cancel the main effect of Shadow Dance. But he's got a bunch of really nice add-ons for that second slot. You can go Stealth with Coxcomb Clapper. You can do Spirit Warrior for the free slowdown. He's just, you can't go wrong with anything except the Beast, which is a meme add-on. It's basically a speed limiter, but for the most part, Swift Hunt does feel required on basically every Wraith build, and that is kind of a shame. Finally, the most add-on dependent killer in the game, probably to no one's surprise, is Trapper. The difference between Trapper with no add-ons and Trapper with double Eerie add-ons is C tier to very high B tier, possibly even bottom A tier. I legit think that double Eerie Trapper with Iridescent Stone and Bloody Coil is a bottom tier A tier killer. Bottom A tier killer. And the reason is, if you get someone into basement with that setup, there is basically nothing anyone can do to save that guy in the basement. Because if they try to even enter the basement by disabling your traps, they're injured. Now they can't even physically get into the basement without you downing them. Basement Trapper with Eerie Stone and Bloody Coil is a guaranteed death, and if they run Agitation and Iron Grasp or something, you cannot stop them from getting to the basement. So legitimately, it is one of the strongest, least counterable things in the entire game, but it's entirely up to the add-ons. Without those add-ons, no big deal. I mean, it's still a big deal, but it's not an uncounterable scenario, with a Basement Trapper. But that's not even, you don't even need that setup. Just Honing Stone itself makes him go from, C to high B tier. Trapper Sack saves you so much time in the beginning, just not having to go pick up all your traps. You've got them all right from the beginning, and typically you're going to set up your area and just reset them him over and over again. Like, Trapper, he has the biggest disparity from he's like C to D tier without, and then like very bottom of A or top of B with his absolute best setups in the right scenario. So I can think of no killer that requires add-ons more than Trapper, and it really makes me frustrated. Why can we not just give him some more of that base kit? I don't know why they're so opposed to just making him start with more traps, or fuck it, all of his traps. Do you really think that's going to make Trapper an A-tier killer? He's going to be better than Blight and shit like that? No. He's not even going to come close to those killers if you do that. Just give him some of that stuff base kit. You can make him set traps faster base kit. That's fine. Now, things like Honing Stone and stuff like that, those need to be add-ons because those effects are very, very good. But there's so much stuff that are just like basic quality of life that he should just have by default. It's such an insult to the flagship killer of the entire game that he needs to run like the very best shit to stand any chance of beating good teams. And if he does run it, he actually does stand a chance. But like I said, you shouldn't be that reliant on double Eries every single game in order to win. That is just ridiculous in my opinion. So Trapper, yeah, without a doubt, the most add-on reliant killer in the game. Those are basically my top 5. I'm sure there are some people that play killers that I don't play. Like, we're going to have one of 3 twins main say, well, actually, you need, Toy Sword, blah, blah, blah. There's going to be something like that, and that's entirely possible. And there's probably some killers that are actually even more add-on dependent. These are just the killers that I have played, at least somewhat regularly that I can comment on. But curious to hear if you guys have any other opinions about this, because, like I said, there's a lot of killers. There's a billion add-ons. It's impossible to think of all of them at the time of making this, but that's it. Thanks for watching. See ya. Buddy says bye as well.